Hi, good morning, everyone. We will just be starting off with the webinar. Welcome, firstly, to our Democratizing Digital Commerce ONDC webinar, right? Um, I'm going to go ahead and first introduce myself. I am Parsha Javeri. I will be the moderator for this session. I am a growth officer at Bizom, leading Bizom's efforts as a seller application on ONDC, right? And I mainly work with brands, operation strategies, and all of that. I will quickly take this time to introduce you to our esteemed panelists. Right, our first panelist is Mr. Nitin Nair from ONDC. He has over 15 years of global experience spanning the Middle East, Europe, and Asia. Nitin brings a deep expertise across the IT, telecom, and banking industries. He is very passionate about the transformative power of the internet, and he has always been at the forefront of leveraging digital innovation to reshape lives and industries. Next, again from ONDC, we have Ayush Agarwal. He is the grocery category lead at ONDC and has been driving the democratization of digital commerce in India. He previously served as the AVP at MagicPin and held leadership roles at Oyo. With experience at Airtel in rural strategy and sales management, Ayush brings a wealth of expertise in business planning and growth. From the Paytm side, we have the Vice President of Paytm, Rohitashwa Bhotika. He is leading the ONDC vertical there and brings extensive experience from his roles at Future Group and Everstone Capital. At Future Group, he helped build Future Pay, which amassed a user base of over 20 million users, while also driving distribution of products and services to a vast consumer base. As a former private equity investor at Everstone Capital, Rohitashwa invested in and operated multiple consumer driven companies. Last but not least, we have Sakshi Kokta from Akshay Kalpa, who has been leading category growth and driving strategic account management at Akshay Kalpa. With a results oriented approach, she specializes in leveraging data driven insights to optimize product performance and enhance customer engagement. She is passionate about fostering sustainable growth and is committed to delivering an impactful marketing strategy to not only build strong partnerships but also achieve long-term organizational objectives. So we have a power pack session lined up for you guys, and I'm sure you will be learning a lot from the perspective of the buyer app from ONDC and also from the perspective of a seller, right? So over to Nitin and Ayush from the ONDC team. They have a short deck present for us, right? So guys, you can take it ahead.
Thanks, Pasha. I'm excited to be here for this Power Pack session. Loads of brands here. Excited to talk about ONDC and what we're doing. I'm sure most of you have heard of ONDC, and for those who haven't, let me try and talk a little about what ONDC is and what we're trying to do. ONDC is a Ministry of Commerce backed Section 8 company, which is even set up to democratize e-commerce in India. And we are multi-domain. We do everything from grocery, food, uh, logistics, fashion, beauty, and personal care to diverse domains in mobility such as ride hailing, metro ticketing, bus ticketing, to financial services, to agriculture and more. Right? The mandate essentially is anything that can be catalogable. Any product or service that can be catalogable should eventually be available on the ONDC network. What is the ONDC network? The ONDC network is a backend that helps different entities, an unbundled platform of buyers and sellers to interact with each other seamlessly on the ONDC protocol. So today, a buyer on Paytm can seamlessly buy food from a seller in Bangalore registered on, say, MagicPin as a seller app, right? And between the buyer app, Paytm, and MagicPin seller app, they're able to seamlessly transact. Or a consumer on Ola is seamlessly able to buy, say, grocery from Akshay Kalpa, right? And that's essentially the power of what we have set up. What should brands look forward to? I think a couple of things. One, we bring the power back to you to run your, e-commerce operations. In that sense, there is an opportunity to get demand on the network. The network also provides you class leading logistics. The network will also soon provide you class leading warehousing, right? So with all three available, you're sort of back in charge in terms of how you would be in command of how you would drive your business. Unlike in the platform world, where largely you are at the mercy of the platforms to decide how your pricing is, how your commission structures are, and at what terms of business that you will run in, right? Which broadly is our mandate, to democratize, to bring in all kinds of sellers uh, back to the e-commerce fold and get them to be able to transact in a way that it works for the seller ecosystem. With that, I invite Ayush, my colleague, to come in and talk a little about in detail on what ONDC is, what we're trying to do. We'll be very happy to talk through any questions, any clarifications that the participants may have in due course today.
Yeah,
Over to
thanks, Nitin. Yeah, so I'll just bring up a short deck for all those who may not still have a very clear understanding of what ONDC is all about. I trust my screen is visible to everyone. Yeah, Parshva, can you just call it out? I hope this is visible.
Just a second, just a second. I think it is lagging. It will just become visible again.
Sure.
Give me a second. So screen is not visible yet. Just try to unpresent and present again, maybe. That should help.
Is Modi ji visible?
Okay,
Not
it
yet.
is loading. Yeah, now it's visible. Yes, correct. We're
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly touch upon what ONDC is all about. So first of all, this is an initiative which comes right from the top. It's a national initiative which comes directly from the Prime Minister's office. And what we are doing here is we've come up with a digital public infrastructure. We are more like the railroads on which we expect the e-commerce ecosystem to get democratized. So apart from being a digital public infrastructure, we are incorporated as a private company. So we are a Section 8 company, a not-for-profit entity, which is supposed to drive this entire initiative of democratizing e-commerce in the country. So we essentially operate on two principles. And as Nitin was also explaining, we have the principles of unbundling and interoperability. The Paytm to Magic Pin example that he took dwells upon this particular principle, wherein there are two different platforms which can transact via the ONDC network. Essentially, a customer sitting on one platform can transact with a seller sitting on the other platform. We also unbundle the entire ecosystem in the sense an entity did not do all the three line items in e-commerce. It did not acquire customers plus do logistics and plus manage the sellers. If you're doing any one of these, you actually become an e-commerce player on the ONDC network. So I'll just try and demystify what we are and what we are not. We are an open network. We are a capability. We are an infrastructure. We are very open to innovations. We are more like a forest rather than being a garden. We are open to all categories, all different domains, and different ways of conducting business. We are not a we are not some kind of a central intermediary or a regulator. And the objective with which we operate is to have minimal intermediaries. So we are not just limited to retail. So that's another level of demystification. We also provide the opportunity for participants to leverage on logistics. And apart from that, we are branching out other services such as financial services. So this slide just gives an overview of the overall scale. At this point in time, we are at an average orders of over 5 to 6 lakhs on a daily basis. We have over 7 lakh retailers which are live on the network, spread across mobility and the retail verticals, apart from some steps that we have taken on the financial services side. Once again, we are spread across the country. This is not a phenomenon which is limited to particular cities or states. We currently have presence across the country, as you can see on the map. We have countable cities of over 600 at this point in time, and this is growing as we speak. So I hope Nitin and myself we have been able to at least demystify ONDC for the audience. I'll pass it over to Rohit Ashwa, who is representing Paytm, which is one of the key buyer applications on the network. Rohit, over
Sure.
to you.
Sure. Thanks, Ayush, for that. I'm pretty sure that was extremely insightful for all our participants. Everyone is now more well aware about the scale and the scope and the potential that ONDC holds. Coming to Rohit Ashwa Boteka, Vice President of Paytm, who is leading the ONDC vertical there. So Rohit Ashwa, I have a couple of questions for you, which is also which many of our brands and also sellers are asking us. So they frequently ask us about demand generation on ONDC. So what are some ways in which Paytm is driving demand for brands, especially on ONDC?
Uh, I hope. Thank you all. Thank you, Pashwa. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're
So I think
audible.
as all of you all are well aware, right? Paytm is one of the largest mobile applications in the country. Has over 100 crore people who've used it in the past. What Paytm does is that obviously because of the large traffic that comes onto the app, and as well as people who are visiting us, making UPI transactions, making other transactions, these are all avenues for brands to one, get free marketing, get free visibility, so that they can showcase themselves and all of that. As well as there are paid promotions available where the brands can actually spend money at much better competitive rates, uh, at, attracting KYC users. So and through that get visibility. And what we're trying to do here with ONDC is basically create a new channel, right? And if you look at it, it's one of the lowest commission channels in the market. So what we're hoping to do is that the brands actually use that low commission and pass on a much better price than any other marketplace to the brand, to the consumer, which will ultimately lead to much more visibility, much better traction, much better conversions, etc.
Right, fair
We
enough.
have
I
a lot
Yeah.
of notifications. Sorry, we have a lot of notifications, etc., as well that we do to attract these users. But what we've realized is that we want to target. See, where what we see is that we want to attack or attract people to brands which are doing well, right? So if the brand is priced well, if the brand has good delivery promise, if the brand is able to deliver it in time, not able to cancel users orders, etc., we will then deliver more impressions, more visibility to those brands and help them scale up very rapidly.
Right, right. That makes a lot of sense, especially the point where you have to pass on the value all the way down to the consumer. I think that is a big game changer, especially for most of the consumers in the Indian marketplace, Indian e-commerce marketplace. Especially make being very concerned about the price sensitivity part. Right. Makes a lot of sense, Rohit. So just one more question for you. What are some additional strategies, or what are some strategies that Paytm is adopting to particularly enhance visibility and attract consumers? Since brands really are concerned about customer acquisition these days. So could you just touch upon this?
So few things where we're working with the brands, right? So one is possibly implementations of QR codes, because what we've
Hmm.
seen is that the brands, Paytm is synonymous with QR codes, right? So people look at
Correct.
QR codes, they open the Paytm app and scan it. So brands which have incorporated the ONDC QR code onto their packaging, onto their websites, all of that. We work with them to drive extra visibility for them. What we also want to do is that we work and we do price comparisons of the brands, where we see that if the price that they are offering to ONDC, to Paytm, is much better than anywhere else, primarily because of the low commission that we're charging, right? Our commission, for brands is as low as 3%, which is even possibly lower than Shopify and any other cost, right?
Correct.
There are marketplaces where this same percentage is in the range of 30 to 40%. So where we've seen on the price comparison, where we've seen that the brands are willing to part with some of this reduction in commission to the end consumer, there we drive a lot of visibility. we do notifications, we have a large pool of traffic that comes and does UPI transactions. So we have a post transaction screen. So when you make a payment, you come and see something, you get a scratch card. So those are all avenues available for brands to increase their visibility. We do a lot of it on our own as well, where we've seen good organic traffic, where we've seen good organic traction. But we also open it up for the brands to advertise, right? And open it up and we give it to the brands that, okay, you want to run a special campaign, you want to run a special offer, or you want to target new users, or or the other thing is, see, Paytm also, the advantage of Paytm compared to a lot of the other marketplaces is the reach, right? So we have reach across tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. So brands, and we can obviously tailor the visibility as per the brand's desires, as per the brand's fulfillment, inventory, what they are targeting. So if you want to target, say, a mid-premium brand, we can attract those users, target in a particular city, target people who have credit cards, for example. All of that is possible. And that's what we aim to do, right? So it's not just about showing visibility. It's not just about, spending a lot of money and just making your brand out there. It's about what Paytm basically will help you do is that if you want to drive visibility, we will target the right user who has the right context, who wants to buy your product or who possibly can buy your product, and thereby get you better awareness in the right direction as well as traffic and conversion.
Right, right. Totally agree, Rohit. Thank you so much for that. Like, especially with, to like, I agreed with the point that, you guys can help tailor a specific plan for every brand. That will really help most of the brands these days because everyone is looking at niche ways to, attract consumers in niches. So that's really great. Right. Thanks, Rohit. Those are the questions I had for you today. Also, a note to all our participants. I had put this on the chat. I am just repeating it. I am sure all of you will have a lot of questions, so I advise you guys to note it down. And we have a good chunk of time at the end of the session where you will be able to ask our panelists all your questions. Right. So just make sure you note it down, or you can even put it in the chat at the end, and our team will help get that onto the stage, get that onto the floor. Right. Coming to our speaker from Akshay Kalpa, we have Sakshi Kogta with us. Right. Hi, Sakshi. So I just have a single question for you, which will help you summarize your entire journey here on ONDC with Bizom. So my main question was that Akshay Kalpa has been Bizom's top seller on ONDC, right? You guys came in and you guys really dominated the entire dairy landscape in Bangalore, especially. So could you touch upon how ONDC has helped you as a key platform for growing demand and expanding your brand presence?
Hi, Pashwa. Thank you
Hi.
for the opportunity. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to reflect Akshakalpa's journey at ONDC. So, talking about the ONDC Akshakalpa bond. So, ONDC has given us great opportunity talking in terms of the demand generation or in terms of the growth opportunities. ONDC has always been the right platform for us. We have explored a new customer segment. All upon ONDC. The customers are more tech savvy on ONDC. They are so it aligns with our brand vision all, as well, and they have given us a more segment of new customers which have never been in touch with Akshay Kalpa's by base. And talking about sales growth, so ONDC has been consistent with sales growth, and it has given us repeat customers and larger volume orders at ONDC. And when we talk about the ONDC customer base, the customer base is unique. The customer base has ONDC itself has a larger customer audience and very vast reach to the customers, and hence it helps brand awareness for Akshay Kalpa. It also gave us a lot of trust, and as Paytm also mentioned that we were like Paytm has this thing that they will build trust upon the customers, and hence they will give back the repeat customers and all those things. So that those kinds of aspects have helped us a lot. And then talking about the rapid growth that ONDC is having, since ONDC has came in like 2 years ago, and then the growth that ONDC had is phenomenal, that aligns with Akshay Kalpa's sustainable and scalable expansions as well. So I feel that the future potential that ONDC holds is also something that we to see forward for a long-term partner with ONDC to expand our brand and to see success moving forward.
Great, great. Thank you so much for that, Sakshi. Like, it's really great to see, one of our sellers, push really forward with ONDC and do so well, because this becomes like a beacon of light for the other sellers who are not only not on ONDC, but also brands who are planning to get onto ONDC. Like, I'm sure this highlights a lot of potential that is still untapped in the ONDC network and in India in general when it comes to the entire e-commerce landscape. So thanks for that. Also, just one more note, guys. You can start putting some of your questions in the comments, right, participants? Our team will highlight some of them, and then I will bring it to the stage later. So if you have certain questions, just start putting it. We are close to our Q&A session. Just one last bit we need to talk about. So I will be circling to Ayush Agarwal from ONDC right now. So Ayush, just wanted you to touch upon, like, what value does ONDC have specifically for a D2C brand or any FMCG brand that is coming into the marketplace for ONDC. So over to you, like, give us some insights about this from a brand perspective, from, for ONDC. How can ONDC help a brand unlock value in India's e-commerce marketplace today?
Yeah, thanks, Prashwa. So what I'll do is I've just put together a summary of
Sure.
the benefits which are there for the brand, and let's just go through that. 1 second. Yeah. Trust my screen is visible.
Yes, yes, it's visible. Perfect.
All right. So, in the course of this particular discussion, if you see, we have seen Akshay Kalpa speak, we have seen Paytm speak, and they've touched upon many different advantages that brands have on the network. So, I'm attempting here to summarize all of that for your consumption. The first point being, typically, if you are a D2C brand, or let's say if you're a larger brand dealing with the incumbent e-commerce platforms, you end up giving a commission of anywhere to the tune of 30 to 50%, depending your own scale and the scale of the platform on the other side. If you talk about the ONDC network, there is a buyer finder fee which is charged by buyer applications such as Paytm, and then there is a commission which you will have to pay if you are, let's say, working with a seller application like Bizom. Now that combined commission typically for brands turns out to be anywhere between 3 to 8%. So this, in fact, makes it extremely competitive from a cost perspective. Brands can actually look to build a more profitable channel for themselves when they join the ONDC network. Now, the corollary to this is also the fact that the savings that you do when you're paying a lower commission, it gives you a leeway to make a much higher spend on promoting your product. The promotions can be twofold. One, you can engage in discounting of your SKUs so that you are able to get more and more customers, reach more and more the newer customer segments. On top of that, you can use that money to create better visibility with different buyer applications. So of late, buyer applications such as Paytm, they're also coming up with packages as to how you can promote your brand on their platform. And these packages typically are again more competitive than what you would find with the other incumbent platforms. Lastly, on the cost element, I think even from a logistics cost standpoint, ONDC gives you a much better opportunity. We effectively also act as a marketplace for at least 20 odd logistics players which are currently working with us. So if you are on the network, you can avail the on-network logistics, or let's say you can even buy logistics from the network without directly integrating via an SMP, and you can avail this particular benefit because there is a lot of competition between the logistics players, and that ends up giving you the most competitive price. Now, coming on the autonomy bit, and there are a couple of points which I want to highlight. This is some of our recent experiences with some of the brands. One is you will also get an opportunity to plan your own big days. If you talk about the other incumbent platforms, they plan their own big days around the larger festivals, and the brands have to align themselves to the big days of the platforms. At ONDC, depending on your consumer segment and your own, supply planning, you can plan your own big days because you're working with multiple buyer applications on the other side. And there are different buyer applications with different uh, priorities and focus. So depending on the kind of consumer segment you want to target and your supply readiness, you can actually plan your own big days. We have seen some of the brands do that on our network with success. Also, what we have also observed with some of our brands is they've used the ONDC network to sample out new products, because what happens with the incumbent platforms is it's difficult to replace your hot selling products, or let's say substitute some of your hot selling products with some of the other experiments you want to do, because the platform tends to dictate that. But then the very nature of ONDC is such that we give more power to the sellers. So sellers in this context, brands are in a better position to decide what kind of samples they want to try out in the market. So we've again seen some brands experiment with this and they have achieved good amount of success. So a lot of brands in a way are using the network's low cost plus the opportunity to sample out their products and do a better marketing to the best of their advantage. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about and sort of summarize the opportunity that uh, brands have on the ONDC network. Pashu, I think it's time we open this up for questions and
Sure, sure.
we can have a larger conversation with the group.
Sure, great, great. Yeah, so I think this is the much awaited section for especially all the participants. I am seeing that the chat is being filled with questions. So we will start taking the questions in the order in which they have come into the chat. So I believe Rachit and Yogendra Singh Rajput, right? They have two questions that are somewhat similar, right? It is mainly around how to get your products listed on the platform. And so, coming to Rachit's question, how to get your products listed on the platform and who handles the delivery of the product. So, since I am from the seller app team itself, I will only be taking this question. I'll be able to answer it. Rachit, you need to go through a seller application in order to list your products on ONDC. So Bizom is a seller application on ONDC that will help you do this. So this handles the catalog creation, making your store, handling your order management and inventory management. All of that we do for you, right? And coming to the delivery part, who handles the delivery of the product. Now this is an option that we give to the seller, right? If you are good with your delivery and you have a logistic infrastructure in place, for example, you have a team at your store that will do deliveries for you, then well and good, you can do the delivery yourself. So that is the self delivery option. There is also a second option where you can do on network logistics, on network, on network, right? On network logistics. What this means is that we will help you integrate with all the logistic providers on the ONDC network. And on an order level, they will come like any big logistic provider. You can say ShipRocket, Delivery, right? Loadshare, Shadowfax. There are multiple logistic providers on ONDC. They will come to your warehouse or your store. They will pick up the order, and it is their responsibility to have it delivered to the consumer, right? So I hope this answers your question. uh, Coming to Yogendra Singh Rajput's question, I think I've answered the first part already. How can we list our products on ONDC? So that is through a seller application. And coming through, how can we set up a payment gateway? Okay, so the payment gateway part is not your headache. Actually, that is one of the biggest bonuses of ONDC. You as a seller just need to handle the product quality, keep it packed and ready, right? So the payment gateway and everything is handled by the buyer app such as Paytm. So I'm not aware if you've tried ordering from Paytm or any other buyer app, but what you can do is you can just create a cart like a normal user, and when you go to the checkout page, it is a standard payment gateway like any other e-commerce website or e-commerce app, where the buyer will enter either through UPI or they will do it through their credit card, right? So the entire onus of handling and managing the payment gateway is on the buyer application itself, right? So you don't have to do any work of paying a payment gateway separately, setting up payment integration. All of that is not your headache. I hope I answered your question clearly. Yeah, moving on to Prasad P. Right, I think this is a question maybe ONDC team and Paytm can take. Right, so I feel this is more towards the buyer app. So Rohitashwa, weigh in whenever you need. Right, like for regulated segments, example pharma, farm inputs, and wherever there are certain licenses needed, how does ONDC onboard brands and allow buying or selling? How is rural reach also for buyers, right? So I think Ayush and Rohit, you guys can take this. This is something that Prasad wants to know.
Yeah, Rohit, you want to go first?
So I think for the regulated segment, I think so. Uh, the protocol or ONDC is still understanding it properly and building it up for it. I'm not completely sure of it right now. Paytm as a buyer app is more focused on some of the unregulated segment where the the transaction is much easier to do. I would leave it for Ayush to answer the first part if that's so. I think for the second part, which is the rural reach and all of that, I think so. I mean, the second part of the question, right? So how does ONDC onboard brands allow selling? So what happens is that ONDC actually doesn't need to onboard the brands. ONDC provides the infrastructure that enable the brands to get onboarded. For the brands to get onboarded, like Parshva mentioned, they can just connect with the seller NP, in this case Bizom, and they will help them go live and list on ONDC and all the other buyer apps that are there, similar to like Paytm. And then once they list, then the brands can directly work with Bizom to get traction, get sales, get visibility, or they can even work with different buyer apps such as Paytm, where they work with us and we can give them right visibility, right products, even give them guidance as to how do you sell in this channel, right? Because each channel has a different nuance to it. You will not way sell in
So, Rohit, sorry to cut you off, but I think your voice is cracking a little. So, just if possible, could you please repeat your last point? Yeah, I think. So, I think
So
Rohit. Yeah,
I'll just step in
yeah,
there.
yeah. Go ahead.
I think the first part of the question, or Prasad's question, is around the regulated segments. And when we talk about pharma, so at this point in time, the non-prescription drugs are certainly live on the network, right? If you're an entity doing that, feel free to get onboarded via Bizom Seller Network participant. However, if you talk about the farm inputs, seeds, fertilizers, etc., they're already selling on the network. We have a couple of platforms which are doing that. There can be further nuance to it. Within these subcategories, we may have some bit of a regulation. So maybe this question I can pick this up separately with Prasad. Maybe I'll connect with Prasad separately, and we can further do a deep dive
Sure.
into the nature of his
Sure,
business.
sure. So, thanks a lot, guys. Rohit and Ayush, thanks both of you. So, Prasad, I hope your questions have been answered sufficiently, right? Moving on to Saurav Mahajan. He's saying that I am selling through ONDC under fashion and apparel category. Uh, and he has concerns that he has not got any order from the buyer app. Is there any way to promote your brand on the ONDC network to kickstart your business? Right. So I think this we can channel this question to Rohit Ashwa. Rohit Ashwa, are you in? Are you? Am I audible?
yes, I'm
Right.
back.
Great.
Sorry.
Great. Great. Okay. So I'll just repeat the question for you. So we have Saurav Mahajan here who has been selling in the fashion category, and he has a concern that he has not received any order yet. So he's more specific to the promotion of his brand on Paytm to kickstart his business. Over to you.
Yeah, hi Saurabh. Saurabh, so I think obviously fashion is slightly a different category where the consumers want to understand the different products that are there. I think return, COD on the network is something that has just been enabled. We're also working on that. I think once those go live, I think you will start seeing a lot more traction on fashion, especially on Paytm. I think despite that, right, there are multiple ways to promote your brand. We have a category of fashion that does sizable sales, but it does primarily focused more on the brands that are showing visible or spending on visibility and giving good prices, as well as good products which are attracting some kind of users, right? And what we can do is that work with you to identify which are the users that you want to target, that your brand will target, and then we can actually focus and give the right visibility to you. So might be what has happened is that your brand, even though it's live since 4 months, has not gotten any visibility or not been searched that well, which has maybe not resulted in sales to you. What you might also have to do at your end is, see how Paytm has, thought about ONDC and their own cat or these pages is ultimately this is your brand store in a way, right? So while Paytm will try to give you some traffic, will try to give you some visibility, you also need to think of this as your store. So in case anybody is asking you, where can I buy you online, you can just tell them, this is my link, this is my QR code, you can scan it and order from here as well. And to be honest, the charges that we have, right, which is in the range of 3 to 5%, is cheaper than even Shopify charges to some extent, right? Or any other, your own website technology charges are more expensive than that, including the payment gateway. So in some way, while the buyer apps will give you orders in the longer run, in the shorter run, you will have to treat the the page or your brand store on Paytm or on any other buyer app as your own store. So you will have to create visibility. You will have to tell people, that next time you can order from us on ONDC, on Paytm. So that way, that will drive some level of search, organic search for your brand, and create that flywheel effect, right? So what typically happens on Paytm is that if we see a brand getting traction, if we see a brand getting searched, if we see a brand that more people are opening their store or their products, we start giving it automatically more visibility, which then further drives, more visibility, more orders, etc. So you need to also work a little bit to jumpstart your brand by giving some orders, some visibility, some traction, and maybe even see what the catalog is. Is it work? Is it looking proper? Is it incorrect? And maybe you can work with your seller app on that as well. There are also, sorry, I'm just last point. There are also a few critical hygiene things that we've seen of a lot of the brands which don't get a sales do wrong, right? I think one is their pricing on ONDC is either much more expensive than any other marketplace. So what typically happens is that the consumer searches for that brand, sees the price on ONDC, and then goes to any other marketplaces and searches for that same product again. And because he might be getting it cheaper from that marketplace, he then orders it from there. The other thing is where a lot of the brands have again made a mistake is the delivery time as well as delivery cost. Because some of them, have given delivery days of 10 days, 15 days to deliver the products, and even had astronomical delivery costs. So then the consumer is like, do I want to spend 100 rupees to deliver this product? Maybe not. And that's why they don't order. So maybe you can work with us and to understand whether are people actually visiting your site or are they just dropping off at the cart level, primarily maybe because of these two features.
Great, great. Thanks, Rohit. I think some great points came out here, especially from a demand generation aspect and from promotions for a brand aspect. Right. Coming to our next question from Ayush Jain. Right. So this Ayush will be asking a question to Ayush itself from ONDC. So there is an increased perception in the industry that the scalability of ONDC will always be limited due to low quality catalogs, lack of customer review and feedback, and the cushion of easy and hassle-free returns. So how do you see ONDC tackling these challenges?
So I think
right?
that's a fairly well researched question. I would say I would compliment Ayush for that. See, Ayush, we are also a startup, right? And we have had our learnings in the last 2.5, 3 years of operation, and we have only scaled in the last 1.5 years. And as you rightly point out, these are some of the challenges that we are certainly facing. I'll pick them up one by one. So, if you talk about the low quality of catalog, I'll just quickly cover what we are doing as a network to fix those issues. One, we are working with multiple brands to build a central repository of catalog as a service. Bizom, in fact, is one of the contributors in that. So this will act as a master catalog which sellers and seller network participants can actually consume and build better quality of catalog. So we envision this as a digital public infrastructure in itself for the future, wherein there will be a host of different SKUs available with their cataloging details, product description, images, etc., so that the quality of listings on the network improve. On top of that, what we are also doing is more like a control and governance mechanism. We have put together a catalog scoring framework wherein the catalogs which are sent on the network by the sellers and the seller network participants will get scored. So, basis those scores, the buyer network participants will be in a better position to list good quality catalogs, because what is also happening is because of the open nature of ONDC, listing of bad quality catalogs at times results in a crowding out effect, because it creates an impression that the quality of catalog on the network is generally wrong. So I think with catalog as a service and with catalog scoring governance in place, we will be in a position to solve these issues. We are going live with this by the end of this month, and we expect things to get fixed in another 2 to 3 months time. We'll start, so it's a journey of course, and you'll start seeing an improvement there. Even on the customer review side, we are in the process of implementing customer reviews, and this, by the very nature of ONDC, will be a portable review for the seller, right? If seller is working with, let's say, one particular seller network participant, and he has accumulated reviews over the period, he will still have a flexibility, to switch from that particular network participant to, let's say, Bizom as the next network participant, which provides a better quality of service. Also, on the return side, I think Rohit Ashwa covered it a little bit. See, returns is enabled on the protocol for some categories and is being enabled for some of the other categories. Returns is also a function of buyer applications enabling it in the right manner, and buyer applications providing that support and communication from a return standpoint, and seller applications complementing that. So we are in the process of building that, and I think in due course of time, even the returns part will get streamlined. This is more relevant for, let's say, a fashion or an electronics sort of a category, because if you talk about the hyperlocal categories like food and grocery, it's still not that big a problem to solve for. So yeah, I think once again, complimenting on the question, we are aware of these issues and we are working to fix these issues in a very short span of time.
Great, great. Thanks for that, Ayush. Right, I hope we answered your question, Mr. Ayush Jain. Right, coming to Yogendra Singh Rajput's question again. So, Yogendra, I believe the questions you have are more specific towards listing. You can fill the form at the end of the session. You can just fill a form, and someone from our team will definitely contact you and help you understand this whole process. Because I feel this is not the correct forum, to exactly discuss the nuances of the listing. Right. So let's take the next question. Nandita Rajendran. Right. This is a insightful question, I believe, because you're talking about demand generation. So does marketing spend on the platform? By platform, I'm assuming you mean buyer application. Will it affect search results? So Rohit Ashwa, do you have some insights on this?
Sure, like I mentioned, so marketing spend directly will not affect the search results unless they are promoted, as marketing, like promoted ads or something on search. But what typically happens when you do marketing spend is that our algorithm sees that, this page is getting much more traffic, this page is getting much more orders, much better funnel, much much better conversion. And then because of that, automatically that page gets more highlighted to the consumer, right? So what how we imagine the platform and the network to work, right, is that brands that are doing well are brands that we want to show to similar type of audiences, so that because we feel that they are lookalikes, that because other people like you have bought this brand, there is obviously a higher probability of you buying that same brand, right? It's basically in a similar way how TikTok works, how Instagram Reels work, where uh, because a certain product is seen a lot and bought a lot, other people also are shown that product in an organic way, right? So while there is marketing spend that you can do, it kind of leads to a little bit of a domino effect as well. And that is where we feel that that's why we feel that the brands don't have to just list on the platform, but really reduce the pricing, make it very very competitive, as well as spend limited amounts on marketing. Could be as low as 25,000 rupees monthly, right? Which basically gives them a little bit of a jump start, right? Additionally, we also want the brands to communicate, like I mentioned before, communicate about their brand on ONDC on other channels as well, on their own websites, on their own social media, on their own emailers that they are sending, because that's what creates that viral effect. That okay, wow, this brand is available everywhere that I want to buy it from, right? Wherever I want. And ONDC buyer apps today, maybe there are 20, tomorrow there'll be 200, right? It's so the more you tell people that you're available on ONDC, on all these buyer apps, is when people will actually start searching for you also on these buyer apps.
Right, right. So, thanks, Rohit. That really makes a lot of sense. I hope Rohit has answered your question sufficiently, Nandita. So, coming to the chat again, we have Inshaf Fansidin. So, Inshaf, I think your business, if it's based out of Sri Lanka, I am not very sure you will be able to sell on ONDC, since ONDC currently is working only in India. But please do fill the form at the end of the session. There'll be a QR code you can register, and our team will help you with specifics. Right. So, taking the next question instead, this will also be the last question, since we will be wrapping up the session right after this. Right. So, Nandita, again, coming back to you, you have asked if there is a report that ONDC publishes on product geography and other trends related to performance of the network that brands can use as benchmarks for comparison. Okay, so there on the ONDC website, they have an open data tab where you will be able to view some insights on a category level that will help you out. Also, Ayush, if you have anything to add here with respect to any future plan or any reports that is open source and the public can access or brands can access, do feel free to weigh in.
Yeah, so I'll just come in first, Pashwa. So we do have an open data framework. It's available on the ONDC website, and anyone is free to log in and check what are the trends like. We report the overall numbers because by design we are not supposed to reveal any kind of competitively sensitive information for any of our network participants. So you can visit the ONDC website and check this out.
Great, great. Thanks, Ayush. I think we are done with all the questions and answers for our session. Let me just quickly check. Okay, yeah. So all the questions are done, and I think the participants have participated quite well. We had a lot of insightful topics discussed, mainly not only starting off with ONDC and its vision. We went into demand generation and Paytm's unique value proposition and a buyer app's role essentially. And we also saw a great success story, like from the Akshay Kalpa side. And I believe many interesting points came out in the discussion following the panelists. Especially, I'm very glad to see that sellers are thinking about ONDC as a new marketplace. They want to build on ONDC, they want to grow. And we hope like this is the exact mindset you keep when onboarding yourself onto ONDC, because this is a channel that is built to stay. although it is very new and it's only been 2 years, we are seeing a lot of success. We are seeing a lot of milestones coming in, right? And Bizom as a seller application has been with ONDC since the past 2 years, and we've worked very closely with small sellers, medium-sized sellers, large brands, and we are able to see that the people's attitude towards ONDC is very refreshing. People really want to build on ONDC, they want to grow, so that is great, right? Also some notes to help the participants out, right? You will be getting at the end of the session, like once I'm done talking, the screen will have a QR code. So if you are a new seller who wishes to onboard onto ONDC with Bizom, like please do fill that form. That QR will lead you to a registration form. The moment you fill it, we will have your contact information, and someone from our team will definitely contact you to help you understand how to get onboarded onto ONDC, how to further your business objectives when it comes to e-commerce on ONDC, right? And if you yeah, so this is that QR code, so please go ahead, scan it, register. And also post webinar you will get one email where there will be a feedback form. So please give us your feedback. If you had some questions that were unanswered, or if you remember some questions to ask after this webinar was over, please do mention those questions there, and someone from our team will definitely reach out either over email or either give you a call and help you with that. And also, if it's more onboarding specific, and if you have questions for Bizom as a seller application, do mention it there. Give us your feedback. Do give us a good rating, right? I sound like a Swiggy driver, but just do give us your feedback. It matters a lot. We also get to know how sellers are thinking, what is in the seller's mind, what are brands concerned about, right? So this will help us better our offering, better our service for you, and together we can grow on ONDC. Also, so wrapping up, thank you to all our panelists. So Nitin, Ayush, Rohit Ashwa, and Sakshi, thank you guys for your insights. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for making this webinar truly insightful for not only participants but also us as seller application. Like, I got to learn a lot just by hearing you guys speak today. So thanks a lot, guys. We will be wrapping up now. So thanks everyone. You are free to leave this meeting. Hope you guys have a nice Friday, right? Looking forward to hearing your feedback and the questions. Thanks everyone.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Bye bye everyone.